mortgage clauses. Number 4, prepayment penalty clause. You're going to pay ahead of time, then they're going to you're going to have to pay a penalty. Prepayment clause, you can pay ahead of time, there's no penalty. Due on sale clause, if you try to transfer your interest to another person, that the bank is going to accelerate your mortgage. Okay, so this type of payment or this type of mortgage is not assumable. So if you have a due on sale clause, it doesn't permit the other person to assume it. Okay, and again, if you have any violation, if you have a breach of contract, any type of breach is going to activate the acceleration clause. So if you have a breach of contract, it's going to activate the acceleration clause. Okay, let's take a look at the acceleration clause. Okay, so again, you borrowed principal of $400,000. You're going to pay an interest for the next 30 years of $1 million. And your debt service, your principal and interest, is you're paying $2,000 a month. Now, if you're behind 4 payments, then you would owe the bank $8,000. Now, the bank can go ahead and accelerate. They can go ahead and demand or sue you for those $8,000. But what has happened is the bank lost total confidence in you. So they don't want the $8,000. What they're going to do now is they're going to accelerate the due date, which is this date in the future. They're going to accelerate it to the present. And since you don't have the $400,000 to pay them, then they're going to go ahead and take it to a foreclosure proceeding, a judicial proceeding. So the purpose of acceleration is to take away the home ownership rights, the right of disposition, use, possession, and exclusion. They want to take title away from you because remember, you have title to the property. So they want to take the title away so that they can sell it off to some other party. Okay, so if you're in breach of contract, okay, it's going to activate the acceleration clause. And number 2, the acceleration clause indicates that they want all their money in lump sum and they want immediate payment in full of all sums. Okay, if you're not able to pay them in full immediately, then they're going to take you to a foreclosure proceeding in which they're going to auction off your property and sell it to the highest bidder. Now, if your property was worth $400,000, but it was auctioned off for $300,000, the bank was only able to get $300,000, then there's a deficiency of $100,000. Okay, so they sold it for $300,000. Now there's going to be a deficiency of $100,000. And this bank, what they're going to do now is they're going to go back to court and put a demand for you for that $100,000 deficiency that you owed them. All right, so later on we're going to talk a little bit more about the problems, the judicial problems that happen in a foreclosure also. Okay, so again, if you're in default, if you're in breach, okay, it's going to activate the acceleration clause. So if you're in default with a payment, or you're delinquent, or if you're in arrears in payment, again, 1, 2, and 3 signify the same thing. It's the same thing. That you're behind payments, you're in arrears, they're going to activate the acceleration clause. If you're in violation of the due on sale clause, it's going to activate the acceleration clause. If you don't, number 5, if you don't pay your hazard insurance, if you don't protect the property, you're in violation. If you don't pay your taxes, you're in violation. If you don't maintain the properties in good livable conditions, then you're in violation of the bank's clauses and they will accelerate you. Again, in the acceleration, number 6, the bank wants immediate payment in full. They want a lump sum of all the money. If you don't have it, number 7, they take you through a foreclosure proceeding where they auction, number 8, your property off. Now, number 9, it's called a deed in lieu of foreclosure. A deed in lieu of foreclosure is a voluntary surrender of the title of the property. So that's another thing that's happening right now with people that can't keep up with the payments. They're turning in the title to the property in what's called a deed in lieu of foreclosure. Okay, so again, what we've seen is the acceleration. Okay, for the most part, most people that are behind payments, they're going to get accelerated, and that comes from the acceleration clause. Again, the due date is going to be accelerated to the present, and since they cannot pay the $400,000, then they're going to be taken into a foreclosure proceeding. Okay, so in the foreclosure, they're in breach of contract, and again, the property is going to be auctioned off.